It's going to be a video on how to remove and replace the interior door panels on an NV200. This will be from years 2012 up to 2020. This is a 2020. Some models may vary a little bit, but the principle will be about the same. I'll be replacing the factory speakers with kickers. They do not direct bolt in. You're going to need to get on Amazon, and I'll put a link on to some 6.5-inch speaker adapters for Nissan to make them fit in there. I'm actually putting 6 3/4, but the 6.5-inch adapter will fit. I'm going to break it into 2 videos, so the introductions may sound a little weird, but basically I did the passenger door, the driver door, then I did this introduction for both of them. I'm going to put a list of tools needed for both doors, and I'm going to make one video of doing both doors all together. So if you're just on one side or the other to replace something inside the door, you can find out how to take the panel off and put it back on. If you're actually doing the speakers, you can see both sides done. Like most door panels nowadays, there's probably only a couple screws. I know there's one down in here. There's probably one behind here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, I've got a T20 Torx screwdriver. I'm going to take this screw out of the middle down here. Sorry for the lighting. I'm in a really bad spot. I can't get much good light in here, but I'll do the best I can. Try to keep my hands out of the way. So I grabbed the body tool kit. The next thing I want to do is I want to try to pull this up a little bit, see if it'll come out. I think there's a clip in the front, a couple clips in the back. I've got it started here a little bit. So I'm going to take my body tool. You can use a screwdriver, but you're probably going to scratch things up. So if you don't have a set of these, I'd recommend getting them Amazon, $10 or so. I'm going to pry that to where it pops loose. After I get this up out of here, I've only got one wiring connection on the bottom. Let's see if I can find the tab. And it is right here. So I don't know if you can see on the video, but there's a little tab there. You push down that tab and the wiring harness is off. So that's your door switch and lock. Is that button I was pushing down. There's my helper today. Then the next step is to get this piece off back here. So right behind the door handle, you'll see this piece pops out. Get you a small tool in there and pull it towards the front, and this piece will pop out. And behind there we have a, it looks like a 10mm bolt. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this 10mm bolt. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Break it loose. Again, sorry about the lighting. There's not much way to get light in here, so doing the best I can with what I've got. And there's my bolt. So that should be all the bolts holding my door panel, except for I see one more on the door itself. So right there's another 10mm bolt. Get rid of this one. I'll keep my hand out of the way, but I'm going to have to use a wrench. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so if I run into some problems, just bear with me, but we'll get through it. Okay, so that is that one out. And that's just the door installation for noise deadening, and in this van, it doesn't deaden anything, so I'm not sure. All right, the next step is popping these tabs off. I'm not sure where all the tabs are on this one. I'm going to try to find a spot around the bottom here. And they always feel like they're going to break. Sometimes they do. And another lesson learned, there's a push pin right there that I did not see until after it popped out. That apparently helps keep it in too. I'll check the other side. I don't feel anything else over there, so I'm going to keep on pulling tabs. This little guy here looks like he's got to come off. That just popped right off at the top. I don't know if you saw that or not, but this piece just pulled straight out. Get all that loose now. So we've got one more here. And I should be able to lift up and out. And panels off. Got my handle release. So for the handle releases, you pull forward and then lift up out of there. Pull forward and lift up out. And there's my door panel off. Now for the speaker, I went on crutchfield.com, found a speaker that's supposed to fit in there. It said you can do up to a 6 3/4 inch speaker, so I want the 6 3/4. Now to get this harness out, I'm going to push forward on this tab and pull up on the wire. That's going to release my harness. The next thing is to remove the bolts. They're 3 10mm bolts. They also have Phillips heads in the end of them. So I'm going to use my trusty drill here and remove them. 1, 2, and 3. Alright, I got my harness off, got my bolts out, and the speaker just comes out of there. And this is a 6 1/2 inch speaker. Next fun fact. The speaker that I got, the kicker, will not fit in the hole first of all. So Crutchfield's website is wrong. It almost fits, but it hits the metal. Second problem is I think our magnet's too deep, and when the window comes down, it's going to hit the glass. The factory speaker has this plastic housing to push it off. Well, luckily for me, I saved just about everything, even though I shouldn't. This came out of my wife's Nissan 370Z. I ended up putting 6x9s in hers. I cut this housing out, but before I did that, I had put 6 1/2s in there instead of the 5 1/2s. So I bought these rings on Amazon. They're about $12, and this is a Nissan 6 1/2 inch adapter ring. And luckily for me, I'm going to use them on this. So I'm going to take the bolts that came with it. Just going to finger start them so I know I'm starting good without cross-threading or messing anything up. That's 2. That's 3, and I did put a little roll of door seal behind it. I don't know if you saw that, but you don't have to do that because obviously the door's open. We're not making a box enclosure, so it's not going to help the sound any. Just might keep it from vibrating, if anything. Bolt 1, bolt 2, bolt 3. Okay, the next problem we're going to run into is this wiring harness was made to snap on top of the speaker. The wiring harness for this one's on the inside. So basically the wires are going to be inside the door. Now if we screw, or if we take this and push it through the hole in here, which looks like the obvious thing to do, the window track goes up and down right through there. You do not want to catch the window track. There's a cable right there. You might be able to fish the wire behind the cable. I'm going to actually take and drill a small hole right here and just feed my wires through the outside of it. And so I've taken my little factory kicker lead here, and again I'm going to take a drill bit. I'm going to drill a small hole in my plastic housing here, pull my wires through that, and then I'll mount my speaker onto the bracket. Okay, so I've grabbed the 3/16 drill bit. I'm just going to go about where this factory one was, and again I'm going to pop a hole in this plastic housing. And I stay away from my mounting holes for my speaker also. I'm kind of off to an angle here. So I should be able to feed this now. This will be easier for you because you're not trying to stay out of the angle of the camera while you're doing it. Out through there. Nice snug fit. And now I can mount my speaker. So I've got the 4 screws. I'm just going to put one in here to start. Those are the screws that came with the kickers. So I got another screw ready to go in. I'll just slide that into the tab. Shoot my bottom one in. I'm real careful with these, but if you put your hand between the cone and the drill bit, if for some reason you do hit something, I'd rather hit my hand than hit the speaker. Because if you slip and hit the speaker, your speaker's done for. Or you can use a screwdriver, put them in my hand. Now this is the passenger door. I don't have the wiring diagram, so I don't know which is which. I don't know which is positive, which is negative. So I'm going to show you how to find that out in just a minute, and I'll post on the video, of course, which one's positive and negative and save you the work. But if I'm not around, you can do this on any vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. I'm going to put this with my factory speaker. I'm going to strip these off a little bit. Okay. Okay, now to figure out which one's positive and negative, again, I'm going to tell you what colors these are so you'll know when I get done. One has a stripe on it, one is a solid gray. But what I want to do is I'm going to take my voltmeter, I'm going to put it to DC, and I'm going to put it at like 200 millivolts. When I do this, I'm going to touch the positive and negative lead. So I'm going to start with the black one on the gray, and it looks like a green or blue. When I touch this, you'll notice my voltmeter goes to negative 11. That means I'm backwards. So if I touch the positive to the one with the stripe, and the other one to the negative, you'll see now my voltmeter goes to a positive number. Now I know that the one with the stripe is my positive. And the positive is my eyeballs are about shot anymore nowadays, but it looks like a green with a white stripe. The negative is the gray. So I can touch my wires on here. Since I'm using kicker on the black striped line is your ground, the non-striped is your hot. So basically I'm going to be connecting my line with the stripe to the one without, because that's my positive. And then the line without the stripe to the stripe. These wires however you want, wire nut them, tape them, use the connectors that come with the kicker. I'm going to use these, they're like B connectors. They're basically for like the end of a line versus a butt connector or a barrel connector. I'm going to put that on all the way, make sure everything's covered. I'm going to crimp it in place. If you're better soldering, you can solder them on. You can wire nut them again, tape them off. As long as you don't ground anything out to the door chassis, you'll be all right. One. And again, I'm making sure all my copper's in. I don't want anything exposed. My leads are completely covered up there. First crimps just kind of hold it, and then I just work my way down the sleeve. And there's my first speaker. Since I've added a little extra wire here, I'm going to take a zip tie. I'm going to try to feed it through this plastic and just retie this. A little curve in my zip tie so I can get it back out of there. It may take a little practice. I don't want to tear this any more than it already is. Let's keep water, moisture, and a little bit of noise out of your vehicle. So we try to do as little damage as possible. And it may take a little work like this is, but not in it. I'm just going to kind of bundle this up to where it's not going to get caught in anything. There we go. Cut off the end of it. I'm just going to kind of roll it down to where it's not in the way. When putting your door panel back on, first make sure no tabs got stuck in here. If one of these got stuck, sometimes when you pull the panel off, the tab gets stuck in the hole, not in the door. All mine came out. I had one that was stuck over here. I pulled it out with a pair of pliers, put them back in the door panel. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I got to hook my door handles back up. In here, these little balls will hook on top and then twist around. So the first thing I need to do is lift up here. I'm going to hook down in. I'm going to turn it and I'm going to clip it in place. I'll put the ball in, and again, it's almost impossible to do this by yourself and hold the camera and clip those in. I'm going to reach through, I'm going to grab my wiring harness, and I'm going to set the door panel on the top, putting it so it goes down inside the door first. So I'm going down in the door. I have to pull out on these pins a little bit to get it to line up. And there we go. That took a little bit of wiggling and finagling, but I got it in there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to kind of peek behind here, make sure our pins are lined up properly. Once I get them lined up, get them started, I'm just going to pop them on. Everything's back in place. I'll take the pin that came out of the side that I missed in the first place. And this one actually pulls out like so. So I'm going to pull this out, put it in the hole, and then pop it in place. Alright, after that we've got our two door panel screws. One here and the one up there. The one up top was machined. The one down low is threaded. Again, I apologize for the light. Not a whole lot I can do here with it. So I'm going to start that one. Start this one. And you know me, since this one has a Phillips head on it, I'm going to grab the impact. I want it tucked snug. Grab my wrench. My ratchet, I should say. Finish tightening it. You don't want to super tighten it because you'll crush the plastic. It just needs to be tight. Tighten that one, same thing. Don't over tighten them. You don't want to crush them. When you plug in the harness, and it fits one way. This has a couple little tabs back here on the back. It's got 4 tabs. I'm going to put those so where they line up first. And just press down evenly until they pop in. And I got a tab in the front. And there we go. Back to our T20 screw. Down inside the door. The last thing we want to do on this side is pull the handle back. There's a little catch on here. We need to hook the front end first and then pop the back side in. So I'm going to put it behind here. It's kind of a pain to get where I can see the camera, or you can see I hook the front end first and pushing it on the back and it snaps in place. And the last thing we need to do, put it back on up top here. This just holds in with 2 little tabs. I'm going to line them up And since that's all that holds that on there, you probably want to make sure you don't snap them. Because if you snap them, that's going to be a pain in the butt. You're going to get a new one. And that's all there is to putting the door panel back on. Remove and install the door panel on the passenger side of an NV200 van. Hope you liked the video. Please click like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing the driver's side door next.